Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the Grade 1 $7 million Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational card. It is race number 11 at Gulfstream Park. Some of the better turf horses in the world going a mile and 3/16, and you can bet the race with a DRF Bets account. Sign up at bets.drf.com, deposit $50, bet with $200. Ready, set, bet. Here's the field for the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. Again, $7 million is the purse. Mike, let's take the field in post-position order, beginning with the filly, the number 1 Magic Wand, taking advantage of a 7-pound weight break with Lasix off, 5-pound weight break from being a filly against the boys, getting in very light at 112 pounds. I thought she ran fine last time out in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. She's multiple Group 1 placed against fellow fillies and mares in Europe. I always thought she wanted a little bit more ground than the mile and 3/16, but I do think she would appreciate firm turf. Maybe last time was a little soft for her.
Yeah, I think she will get firmer turf this time. That could help her. I'm with you. I sort of wonder about this cutback in distance, whether it actually works for her, but I don't know, man. Aiden O'Brien's a lot smarter than I am. He picked this race out for her. She's got a great post. I think her running style suits this race very well. It's not like, I know this is a huge purse and there are good turf horses in here, but it's not like this is a world-class field of turf horses. I think she fits right in with these horses.
Let's talk a little bit about the number 2, Yoshida, who just had a stellar 2018 for trainer Bill Mott. Grade 1 winner on turf, Grade 1 winner on dirt, and was running at the end of the Breeders' Cup Classic, finishing a real solid 4th. Mott could easily have run this horse in the big one, the Pegasus World Cup. He thinks that Yoshida has a better opportunity here on the turf. Here's a formulator fact. I'm not sure I want to put too much stock in it because the data is limited, but here's the fact for Yoshida. Past 5 years, with 3-year-olds and older moving from dirt to turf in route races off a 2 to 4 month layoff, 0 for 22. This horse looked so good winning the Turf Classic over yielding ground on Derby weekend. And then when he came back from Europe, he ran great in the Queen Anne, by the way. That 4-star Dave, he was slipping and sliding over that turf course. He'll get firm, hopefully, on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe that turf course just didn't suit him. He was also sort of down inside behind us. I didn't like the position he was in the 4-star Dave, not that he ran a great race that day. I sort of wonder if, sending this horse over to Ascot for a second start just sort of screwed up his campaign a little bit because he was so good first off the layup and it felt like he had forward to go. I know that he won a Grade 1 on dirt after that. I think Mott made the right call running him in this race. His dirt races are fine. I think he's a better turf horse. I think this is the right spot for him, and I think he's a huge contender in this race. I don't love him in here, Dan, but he's a huge contender. Morning line favorite. I don't know if I would take him at too short a price.
No, I agree with you. You have to use this horse, I think, in any kind of multiple race wager. And in the 4-star Dave, I agree with you. I'm not sure why Manny Franco just was so intent on getting him down towards the rail. And he ended up in a little bit of traffic, but it looked like he was slipping and sliding over that good turf course. I thought it was more yielding than turf. Main contender is Yoshida. Bill Mott also has the 3-channel maker, Lasix off, again trying to take advantage of that 7-pound weight break with Lasix off in the Pegasus World Cup turf. This horse ran in the Breeders' Cup turf, was 7-1. It was a very wet turf course, and he chased a very fast pace.
Yeah, he did. Listen, I'm not going to get too caught up in his Breeders' Cup. He was disappointing in that race. I'm not going to be too hard on him for that. The real turning point for this horse was after his first couple of starts this year when they came back east with him. He just did not get good trips in those races, and it felt like Rosario, Mott, the combination of the two decided, you know what, we're going to get this horse more involved early. And as soon as they started doing that, this horse's form turned around. I feel like that's exactly what Castellano's doing in this race. He's going to get this horse forward. Firmer ground will help him. I think he is a big player in this race at a good price.
I agree. He's another you have to use. In that Joe Hirsch Turf Classic over soft ground 2 starts back, kind of his coming out party from a speed figure standpoint. 108 buyer, 130 time form adjusted, pace adjusted figure. Listen, he was on the best part of the track that day in the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic, but do you think he's a kind of horse that's improved with more ground and that cutting back to a mile and 3/16 might actually hurt him a little bit? He was so versatile early in his career. I find it hard to take that opinion.
I thought about that a little bit too, because it did feel like maybe distance sort of turned his form around, but he had so many tough trips when they were going shorter with him because his running style was totally different. I actually feel like this could really work for him. I think this distance is okay for this horse.
And again, give him a mulligan for the Breeders' Cup turf. The horse he was pushing on the lead, Glorious Empire, he ended up finishing last. All he did was come back in his next start and pop a 108 buyer and winning the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale. In from Japan is the number 4 Aerolithe. This is a really strong kick second late runner. He is a Group 1 winner at a mile, Group 2 winner 2 starts back at a mile and an eighth. He does need a little bit of pace to set him up. I'm just not sure if he really wants a mile and 3/16. And to me, that's really the big question in this race.
Yeah, I had the same concerns about her in this spot, just because it feels like the longer they go with her, maybe that sort of takes away a little bit of her kick. But she does have some really nice races on her card. She's faced good company over in Japan. It's interesting that she's here. I'm very interested to see what she does in this race. But I don't know. I found myself sort of leaning in a different direction.
The Yoshida Kinen is one of the major mile races all year long in Japan. She came with a big run and only got beat a neck. She ran well. The number 5 is Next Shares. Next Shares won in a blanket finish last time out in the Grade 2 San Gabriel after really not firing in the Breeders' Cup Mile. I like the trip Giovanni Franco gave Next Shares last time out, the old in-out, but boy, he was all out to get it done. And those blanket finishes, even on turf when it ended up like that, it doesn't give me a lot of hope that he's going to be able to step it up to the next level against these tougher horses.
I agree with that. I just wasn't that impressed. Listen, maybe they were just giving him a race. It was a prep to get him here, and he'll run better in this spot. But I'm, not only concerned about his last race and the step up in class for this one, I'm a little bit concerned about the distance for this horse too. I think he's probably a little better around a mile. Obviously, he's got the Grade 1 win last year, twice Grade 1 placed at a mile last year. So it feels like that's more his game. But listen, they're probably just going to take him back and make one run in this race. Maybe it sets up for him.
Barring a disastrous break, they're going to have to catch another mare. The 6, Fahan Mura. Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. They've got Fahan Mura out there freewheeling on the lead, and she has really improved. Sort of like Channel Maker when they've decided just to send her out to the front. She's got the stamina to carry her speed. Last time out, she was all out in the lane to hold off Excel at Sunset. It was timed very well by Edwin Maldonado. In this race, it's going to be a tougher task against tougher horses.
Yeah, I guess she'll make the front in this race. I'll take a little exception to you sort of comparing her to Channel Maker. I get what you're saying. She has improved. Distance, I don't know if I like the distance for this horse either. I think she's probably better going shorter.
Let's talk about Chad Brown's number 7, Bricks and Mortar. This horse showed a lot of ability back in 2017 as a 3-year-old. Had some tough trips in some races. Started out his career with 4 consecutive victories. That went away for a very long time. Just had some nagging physical problems. He came back off an elongated layoff last time out as good as new. Popping a career best 102 Beyer speed figure. I like the smooth move he made on the far turn to get into contention. And it looked like he was getting a little bit tired late, hopping back to his left lead. I have a feeling that he can move forward off that start. He might have the most upside of any horse in this race, but he's another one. He's got to handle the distance.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he should be okay with the distance. We'll see what happens. This was a really good 3-year-old on the turf. He mixed it up with Yoshida a few times, and they were close in a lot of races together. I felt like this was the better horse of the two. It's just unfortunate that he missed so much time when he came back off the layoff last time. I liked that as a jumping off point for this horse. Not only did he earn the new top figure, I thought he sort of won that race under strong handling, though. It was a close finish at the end, but he always looked like he was going to win, and it's not like he was all out to do it. I think this horse could take a big step forward in this race.
Graded stakes winner Delta Prince finished ahead of the morning line favorite Yoshida in the 4-star Dave handicap when just missing by a neck. And then in the Woodbine Mile, I wonder if he was pace compromised a little bit. I mean, he had a really good trip tracking the pace in the pocket. He just kind of was one-paced around there. But when you give Oscar Performance going a mile, a half mile, and 48-3 on the lead, you're not going to catch that horse. They ran 1-2 all the way around the track. The runner-up coming back to win a graded stake on Synth with a 98 Beyer. And last time out, Jimmy Jerkins just experimented. Blinkers on, running him on the dirt, and catching a freaked-out no-dozing that day. This is what he wants to do. He has tactical speed. Distance questions as well.
Yeah, he's more of a miler, that's for sure. We'll see what happens when they throw more distance at him. I'm with that. He's got some good turf races. He's got the Grade 1 4-star David Saratoga where he just missed, but I didn't see a huge excuse for him in that race. And then the Woodbine Mile, the pace wasn't fast. Oscar Performance wired the field. This horse got a perfect trip in there and got out finished. I was a little disappointed in that race. I just wonder. I know he's good, Dan. I just wonder how good he is.
Before we get to your top selection, let's talk about the outsider from a post position standpoint, maybe from a price standpoint. That's WW coming off a nice win over Yielding Ground when entered for a 62.5 tag. Beat a sharp horse that day in Super Tap, but a horse that came back to win with a 97 Beyer on dirt, and then took the Sunshine Millions Classic in game fashion on dirt with a 95 Beyer. This horse now with Bob Hess. We don't have a great formulator fact for Hess. Past 3 years, last out winners on turf, 0 for 21. Don't let that dissuade you if you like this horse. He's going to be a gigantic price, but he did get a nice pace, it looked like, last time out.
That was a perfect trip in that race, but he also took a big step forward in there. If you're going to step up and run in a race like this, you might as well do it off a career best effort. That's what they're doing here. He looked good in that race. He is graded stakes placed on the turf. It's not like he's just a horse who doesn't have any ability at all. He just happens to be in a very tough race here.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. Mike likes the 9 Catapult, and this horse was always okay for Chad Brown, but he turned a corner when John Sadler got him out to the West Coast. We've seen it many, many times. Okay, East Coast turf horses become world beaters out west. He pulls a little bit in the early portion of his races, and that worries me as he stretches out to 1 mile and 3/16. But he might have moved a bit too early in the Breeders' Cup Mile, Mike. He made this 4-wide sweeping bid. He took this thing over at the quarter pole, and then I thought he was really game to finish second. You think he can stretch out? He's fast enough to win this race. 7-2 in the morning line, a little light, but maybe he trips.
We'll see what happens. I don't know how they'll bet the race. There are a lot of different ways to go in here. I'm with you. I thought his Breeders' Cup Mile was actually pretty good. He was wide around that turn. He hooked up with Analyze It through the stretch. That horse would not give an inch, but he managed to duel him down, and then he just got outrun to the wire in there. But he ran really well, and Dan, I loved his 2 races before that at Del Mar. I know he's got to transfer that form to the East Coast, and sometimes they do it, and sometimes they don't. But he ran great in those races. They were just taking him back off the pace and letting him make one run. I think that's really worked for this horse, because when Chad had him, and it's not necessarily the connection's fault, he would never settle. He was always up there on the lead. He always looked like he had potential, but he couldn't put it all together. I think he's finally put it all together.
And he still pulls a little bit, but not as much as he did. And last time out was kind of the first time in a while that he didn't have cover. And I think that's really the key for him on Saturday, because in the Del Mar Mile, Eddie Reed, he hung in behind horses, and as you're right, he made that one big late run. Catapulted 7-2. I liked what I saw from Bricks and Mortar last time out. I'm hoping Chad can have him ready second off the bench. Bullet workout leading up to this race has me thinking that Chad's got him sharp. Mike's going to go 9-3-7-2. I'm going 7-1-8-2 in the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. It's easy. Sign up at bets.drf.com. Deposit 50. Bet with 200. Approximate post time for the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. $7 million is the purse. 4:51 Eastern. Best of luck.